Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 48 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in NXT history with match number 3 on our list, which is the 2 out of 3 Falls match for the NXT Tag Team Championships between the champions, The Revival, Scott Dawson, and Dash Wilder, against the challengers DIY, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa from the NXT TakeOver Toronto event held on November the 19th of 2016. You knew this match was coming. I've been very excited for this match to come in the countdown. I saw this one live. It's up there for me as far as professional wrestling matches I've seen live. I've been, very blessed that I've gotten to see a lot of absolutely amazing wrestling matches live throughout the years. I've been watching this stuff a long time. I've been going to shows for a long time as well. But Toronto's my neck of the woods. So this was the first NXT takeover they did there. It was a big deal. It was right in that period where NXT was feeling very hot and very fresh. So I went to this show. I also went to the Survivor Series the next night, and I went to Raw the night after that. So it was a really cool time for me. This match, it's maybe a little bit of a pick-em with what you prefer. And I mentioned this about, the Gargano and Cole matches as well. I think the majority probably favor this match, but I've definitely heard, and I've seen it commented on the videos before too, that, some people prefer the original match in Brooklyn. Whatever you prefer, both are excellent. I maybe have, a live bias with this one, but I feel what this match has going for it is it has an absolutely electric crowd. I think the crowd in Toronto is even better than the Brooklyn one. I'd like to take some credit for that. I said the crowd. I'm just kidding, of course. But, you had the electric crowd here. You had the big moment. You had an even heavier kind of feeling going into this one that there was going to be the turn. The title change is amazing. You have these incredible near falls. You have all of these excellent callbacks to Brooklyn. And it just comes together for, in my opinion, one of, if not the best tag team matches ever wrestled in the WWE. And one of the best tag team matches ever, altogether. This match is excellent. Johnny Gargano's performance in this match as a babyface. I talked about this in the 2 out of 3 Falls match with Cole, where he's so good as this underneath babyface that can just get the crowd behind him and get them emotionally invested. This match it's just brilliant bell to bell. It starts out so really great where Gargano almost gets a 3 seconds into the matchup with a roll up on Scott Dawson. And that kind of sets this tone of, the Revival is really going to have to think about the 2 out of 3 Falls stipulation here, because they almost let one up right away. And, these faces are coming for these titles and, are trying to be these juggernauts to take the belts. And the heels are really going to have to sink in to their tag team expertise. I've talked about it so many times with the Revival now that they have these high, tag team in-ring IQs, and they're really going to have to put them to use here. But DIY proved in the Brooklyn match that they were a step ahead on the tag team front, for everything up until the finish. So, the Revival are going to really have to get clever here, and that's exactly what they do. And we don't see that, right away in the match. So many little things that are great. So, there's a point where Scott Dawson, goes for an Irish whip on Johnny Gargano, and he turns his body to make sure that he's whipping Gargano, toward his own side of the ring. But Gargano's able to duck and Ciampa blind tags in. They come in and start this House of Fire run. But again, like I said, the Revival, they have to go deep and they have to use their tag team strategy. In Brooklyn, they were falling victim to these blind tags from the faces and everything like that. So, Dash very quickly distracts the referee and it allows Scott Dawson to rake the eyes, right? All of these classic heel techniques. Gargano starts to get rolling a little bit, but this time it's a blind tag from the heel end. When Gargano gets bandered out to the ring apron, Gargano, he's coming in hot, right? He's trying to get that first fall as quickly as possible, which was established in the opening. So he goes for his slingshot spear, one of his bigger moves. He tries it early, but, he didn't see the blind tag, and he does that slingshot spear right into the shatter machine, the finish of the Revival, and it's enough for the 3 and a relatively quick overall first fall. And the heels going up 1-0, in 2 out of 3 falls matches, that's always the easiest way to go because it creates, this great heat and, the baby face having to come back now 2 straight falls. And it's so simple, but it's so effective and it works so well in this match. The hot tag that Ciampa eventually gets in the second fall, they do such an incredible job building it up. Very, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express-esque, which should be no surprise when it's a revival match. And they do this amazing tease where Gargano, he jukes and he jives and he goes under the legs and he, does all of this stuff to try to get the hot tag. But he's cut off. So, rather than take the beat down, he grabs, a tornado DDT, and he, kicks the other revival member as he's hitting it. So he's laid them both out and he's about to get the tag. But what's Dash Wilder does is rather than come around the ring to try to, cut off Ciampa, he sneaks under the ring to come through for it. Ciampa still somehow sees this coming and kicks, Wilder off. It looks like Gargano is about to get the tag, and, at the last moment, Dash dives into the ring, which distracts the referee enough so that he can't see the tag the faces legally make. So at this point, Ciampa is so enraged by this, he chases everybody, around the ring, but comes in and allows, the heels to double team Gargano and hit a big heart attack for this great, 2 near fall. Again, using the heart attack is so brilliant. It's well documented that the Revival, FTR, whatever you want to call them, they both idolize Bret Hart. This match is in Canada. They're wearing pink and black gear. They hit the heart attack for this near fall. It's all just such great stuff. Gargano finally ends up making the hot tag, and Ciampa is so good running wild off of it. He gets a really close near fall off 2 for a running knee. And then they do this great spot where it seems like the baby faces are going to use a hot tag, or a blind tag. That's something that it's now been established that, the Revival is prepared for. So they do this like fake out of a blind tag where it seems like they're going to hit it, but they don't. And, Scott Dawson, he thinks he's calculated, and then he knows that the blind tag happened. So he grabs Gargano, who he thinks, is now the legal man, and they go for a spike pile driver, but Ciampa's still legal. So he, pushes Dash off the top rope and then comes in with a crossbody over top of Gargano, who's in the pile driver position, for this great near fall for a 2. And again, just this awesome kind of like layered, storyline stuff of, taking these sequences you expect, but throwing these little wrinkles in it. And it's super, super cool. Right after that, though, something that I love, we'd seen Ciampa, make this mistake of trying to give chase and run into the ring and, everything like that, ended up with Gargano taking offense. So we get the flip side of the coin here where, Dash is in the ring and he's, trying to help his partner, and the referee, is getting him out of there. And this allows the double team to come from DIY this time. They hit meet in the middle, which is their finish, the super kick running knee combo, and it's enough for the 3 count to tie us up at 1 fall apiece. We stick with some really cool blind tag sequences here. There's this point where Scott Dawson drops out to the floor and sneaks in. He goes for his punch DDT that he does, but Ciampa, has that scouted, counters it into the float over armbar, but then that gets countered into a crucifix for 2. And there's a great, blind tag from the faces where, Ciampa blind tags out to Gargano, and, sees Dash Wilder on the floor, so kind of runs at him, and Dash hits this big uppercut from outside the ring, which is something that he does often, and it's, led to the Revival getting victories over American Alpha and teams like this. So he hits, the uppercut and thinks, oh, great, I've knocked Ciampa out. He sees Gargano on the apron, has no idea that he's legal at this point, so he tries to run around and knock him off the apron as they would normally do, but Gargano sees this coming and hits a super kick to him charging in, then hits the one final beat on Scott Dawson. Gargano, of course, is now legal, so it's, it goes for the pin cover right away, and that only gets 2 for a really hot near fall. The Revival get a hot near fall. Gargano goes back to the well with the tornado DDT where he has that kickoff. That gets countered into a German suplex, European uppercut combo for a great 2 that's just broken up in the nick of time by Ciampa. We get this, 2-on-1 beatdown on Gargano in the corner, and he kind of fights out of it. And again, just this incredibly hot near fall where he's going for a backslide, but he's facing the heel corner, so he kicks Dash Wilder off the ring apron, flips back right into a small package on Scott Dawson for this just super, super hot 2. And Dash Wilder's so great at ringside. He's discombobulated. He's been kicked off the apron, but he's, holding up the 2 fingers to try to confirm with the ref it was only 2, and then, also taunting the crowd with the 2. It's really, really, really great stuff. Our finish that we have, end up getting, it's got all of these shenanigans tied in, but it's so great. It's very similar to Gargano, getting the win over Cole to win the title in New York City. Because, although we get these shenanigans and it kind of starts to go into that, overbooked realm, it all works and it all makes the finishing all the more satisfying. So Dash Wilder brings in one of the tag team titles. Ciampa sees this. He's not going to let this happen. And he hits, a cactus clothesline to Dash. It takes them both to the floor. While all this is going on, the ref's a little bit distracted. Johnny Gargano's trying to rock and roll, and he hits, his schoolboy that he turns into that kick. But as he's doing it, Scott Dawson gets the NXT title in his hands. He gets it up. Gargano whacks his knee off of it. And now he's got that knee trouble. And remember, in Brooklyn, it was the Indian Deathlock that he ended up submitting to. So Scott, locks that into him. And Gargano does what he couldn't do in Brooklyn. He makes the ropes, which gets a huge pop from the crowd. Everybody is so invested at this point, wanting this babyface tag team to win the tag team titles. The Revival, they're so great. They're so arrogant. They, decide that they're going to go for meat in the middle, and, they're cocky doing, the taunting for it and whatnot. They end up missing, and DIY hits the Shatter Machine, the Revival's finish, on Dash Wilder. It only gets a 2 because, Dawson's somehow able to save in the nick of time. I loved this, that the baby faces use the heel offense when the heels try to use the babyface offense to be jerks. The crowd is nuts, and you actually get, a holy shit chant, which when have you ever heard that from like a 2-count kick out? The crowd is just, it is so insane at this point. The heels, are so good. They go for a Killer Bees spot where they switch out, and Scott Dawson's in there, and he's covering his head and his face, right? Because, he's bald like I am. Dash Wilder's got a great head of hair. And, he gets this roll up on Johnny Gargano for 2, but the referee, notices the switch. So while all of this chaos is going on, and the Revival, they probably knew they weren't going to get away with it. It's not like they're wearing masks like the Killer Bees. One's bald, one has hair. The whole thing is goofy, but it all turns out to be this big diversionary tactic, because while all of this chaos is going on and the ref's confused and Gargano's confused, Ciampa gets posted on the floor by Dash Wilder, which is exactly what happened to him in Brooklyn, and probably the best chop block of all time happens, where he just cuts out Gargano's knees. The selling on it is incredible. The whole thing is amazing. And they go back for the Indian Deathlock, right? And it seems like this is going to be the point where everything's going to fall apart for DIY. Gargano somehow counters the Indian Deathlock into a roll-up, and we get this great, pinfall, near fall exchange. And it ends up that, Gargano slaps the Gargano escape on Dash Wilder. Scott Dawson comes in for the save, and Ciampa somehow in the nick of time does what he couldn't do in Brooklyn. He recovers from the posting. He gets in to help his partner. This time, not trying to help him out of the knee bar, but to help support the submission he has on. He grabs the float over armbar on Scott Dawson, and you get the amazing visual that I'm sure you've all seen, where both members of the Revival are caught in these submissions. Scott Dawson grabs Dash Wilder's hand, prevent him from tapping out, and eventually the pain is just too much. We get the double tap out, which is the best visual possible. The baby faces win the title. The crowd is insane. I can personally vouch for this moment. Because it sounds crazy, because we're still in COVID times, but, we were jumping up and down. We were hugging strangers. Everybody was so elated over the pure emotion of baby faces winning a match and coming from behind, and it shows everything that's beautiful about pro wrestling in one moment. That, even somebody like me that's been watching this 30 plus years, that knows the ins and outs, that knows everything there is to know, for the most part, about pro wrestling, could still get caught up in something. And that's what makes it so special. That's what makes it so beautiful. And that's what makes me love professional wrestling. And this, match had it in that moment. I was there. I was hugging the people the row in front of me. I was hugging my friend I was there with. We were high-fiving people. I've got long arms. I'm a tall dude, 2 and 3 rows back. Everybody high-fiving, jumping up and down. Because, two guys that I watched from the indies. I've been watching Johnny Gargano, Cleveland All-Pro Wrestling, right? Early AIW. I followed that guy for a long time. Tommaso, Ciampa, the Northeast Indies, Super 8, winner, early kind of beyond shows and everything, in that Northeast realm, before he made it into Ring of Honor. So these are two guys that I, saw come up from nothing, get their WWE deal and, eventually make it to this point where they would get their moment in the sun, with this excellent tag team match. I love this match unconditionally. As I sit in my basement recording this video, I have a poster that I bought that night with the match card, framed, down here to remember that show, and specifically this match by one of my favorite live matches of all time, one of the best tag team matches ever. You can watch this match, of course, on Peacock. If you're outside the US, it's available on the WWE Network. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.